Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of my tutorial. Let's see how I structured my project. I have designed my project using the clean architecture pattern, which helps keep the code modular, scalable, and easy to maintain. Now let's break down clean architecture. As you can see in the Google Documents, clean architecture consists of 3 main layers: the presentation layer, the domain layer, and the data layer. The presentation layer is the UI layer that displays data on screen. The domain layer handles business logic and use cases. And the data layer manages data sources like local data source, databases, APIs, and caching. The domain layer is technically optional, but I have included in my project because it helps keep business logic separate from other layers, making the code more maintainable and testable. What modules are in my project? The first one is build source. This module manages dependencies like retrofit, Hilt, and etc. And most modern Android projects use the version catalog to manage dependencies, but I have chosen a different approach to handle them efficiently. Next module is data. Data module has 3 key parts: cache, network, and repository implementation. First one is cache layer. Cache layer handles storing and retrieving cache data. We can see cache layer dependency in my GitHub repository. Repository checks cache first before making any network call. And if data is available, return data to repository. Otherwise, if cache was empty, request fetch data from network, and network get data from API, and then store them in cache, and then cache return cache data to repository, and repository provide final data to UI. The next module is network module. Network module manages API calls and remote data fetching. Repository implementation acts as a bridge between domain layer and data sources. Let's deep dive into the domain module. The domain module in my project is divided into 3 sub-modules. One important thing to note is that the domain module should not depend on any Android specific components or libraries. It should only contain pure Kotlin or Java codes without dependencies on frameworks like retrofit, Room, or Hilt, even parcelable annotation. Here are the key parts of domain modules. The first one is common entity module. This includes entities and models used in the project. In my project, I have 2 types of models: remote models and domain models. Remote models represent data coming from APIs. Domain models used within the UI and business logic. Ideally, it's good practice to introduce a third model type for UI models to further separate concerns. But in my project, I use only two type of models. The next one is repository module. This module only contains repository interfaces. The repository pattern is used to separate the interface from the implementation, improving testability and maintainability. As I mentioned before, inside the data module, I have implemented these interfaces to provide actual data. This module. And the next module is use case module. Use case define a business logic and are responsible for executing a specific action. Each use case should handle only one responsibility. For example, a get news use case should only fetch news, and a delete news use case should only delete news. Keeping use case small and focused help maintain clean, readable and reusable code. By structuring the domain layer in this way, we make our project more maintainable and easier to test. The last one is presentation layer. Presentation module handles everything related to UI, using Jetpack Compose and following the MVI pattern to manage state efficiently. What's the next step? Now that we have an overview of the project structure, in the next part we will start coding and implementing each